Dragon Rescue, Chapter 16, Metal Teeth. The trap looked like a pair of metal dentures that belonged to a giant. Grandpa Abe wore dentures. He kept them in a glass beside his bed at night, since he didn't need to chew while sleeping. Poor thing, Pearl cried as she and Ben raced toward the paw. This is why she isn't moving. A heavy chain was attached to the trap at one end and to a metal post at the other end. The post was hammered deep into the ground. "Who did this?" Ben asked. Metalmouth crouched real low, his ears folded forward. "Do you think it was a bunch of angry peasants?" He nervously glanced around. "Maybe I should get out of here." Ben felt worried too. Protecting Metalmouth from a rake-wielding mob could be tricky, and Metalmouth couldn't fly away to escape. Nor could they summon the portal, because they no longer had the vial of fairy dust. "Hey, you guys, come help me!" Pearl was yanking on the trap with all her might. "We have to free her." Pearl was right. They'd worry about angry peasants later. Even with the three of them working together, pulling and grunting like weightlifters, the trap didn't budge an inch. Then Ben had an idea. "Metalmouth, couldn't you use your flame, like you did back at the hospital roof, to melt the metal?" "That's a real good idea. Stand back." As Metalmouth took a deep breath, Ben and Pearl scampered behind his wing, as they'd done before. A flame shot at the chain, cutting through it like a saw until the links broke apart. Then he aimed his flame at the corners of the trap, cutting a precise line around the hinges. The top half of the trap toppled over, landing on the hardened ground with a loud clang. They watched, waiting for the rain dragon to get up and fly away. "How come she's not moving?" Pearl asked. "She's free." They walked around the paw, examining it as best they could. The rain dragon had 5 toes, unlike Metalmouth, who had 4 toes. The trap had made indents into the paw, but none of the metal teeth had pierced the thick skin, so there were no wounds to tend to. "She's still not moving," Pearl said. "Something else must be wrong." Ben started walking. "We need to get to her head so we can talk to her." Uh-oh. Metalmouth stood on his hind legs and sniffed the air. "I smell something else." "Is it water?" Pearl asked. "Please tell me it's water." She and Ben looked up at Metalmouth, waiting for the word they longed to hear. A word that was clear, crisp, and drinkable. Metalmouth sniffed again. Then he bared his jagged teeth and growled. "What's wrong?" Ben asked. He growled louder. The scales along his spine stood straight up, like the hair on the back of a cat. Ben's own spine got all tingly as a creepy feeling ran up it. "What do you smell?" Pearl asked. "I smell dragon blood." "Blood? That's why she's not moving," Pearl said. "She must have another injury. Come on." Despite their thirst, the trio picked up the pace. It only took a few minutes before they reached what looked like a forest. After referring to the drawing in Dr. Wu's book, they realized they'd arrived at the dragon's mane, which was made of feathers, each one as long as a pine tree. The feathers had also turned a drab shade of brown. Metalmouth sniffed the air. The scent is stronger. "Look!" Ben pointed to a narrow stream that trickled along the cracked ground. But it wasn't filled with refreshing cool water. The liquid was thick and green. "Dragon blood," Metalmouth said. The blood boiled like porridge on a stove. Bubbles popped to the surface, then spat in small bursts. A splatter hit one of Ben's sneakers, burning a hole in the canvas. "Watch out," Pearl said, dodging another splatter. They darted past the bloodstream and kept hurrying until they reached the dragon's head. A head the size of a house. "Wow," Pearl said. Ben stood in awe. He forgot about being thirsty. No words could express his amazement. Nothing in the known world could compare. Even Metalmouth, who was as large as an elephant, stood in silence, dwarfed by the immensity of this other dragon. The rain dragon's eyes were closed. Blood dripped down her forehead and onto the ground. That's when Ben realized they'd found the source of the green stream. His heart sank. One of her horns had been cut from her head, leaving behind a big, gaping hole.